Steve in the middle here on third row.
Hi, Jalen. Steve Ashburner, NBA.com. I'm wondering offensively, for the responsibilities that Shea and you have on a nightly basis, when it comes to shots taken, scoring opportunities, how much is that a result of what your system steers you guys towards, and how much of that is maybe just organically for the type of players that you are and how you play?
You're saying like how many shots I shoot a game, or what do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's your leading scorer. Is he always likely to be your leading scorer? Are you likely to be the number 2 scorer? I mean, because of the way you guys play, or because of the players you are?
Honestly, it's a mixture of both of those. I think what helps is that we both want to win. So for me and him, it doesn't really matter who's leading scorer or who's not. I think it also helps pecking order wise. He's the MVP. So if he wants to shoot a lot of shots, I'm going to tell him good shot every time. So that's kind of how that works. But a lot of it, too, is a result of just our offense and how, like, other guys play around us, and I think just how it's structured. But we don't really, like, go into, like, games and we're like, all right, I'm going to shoot 20 times, and Dub, you're going to shoot 12. You know what I mean? It's kind of like taking whatever the game gives us, and I think that's what makes us a good team.
Front right.
Joseph Pavone, Clutch Points. Jalen, I can imagine after your historic performance, kind of messages and phone calls you received, I'm wondering what's a name that maybe you hadn't heard from a long time, or someone that possibly reached out that stands out the most within the last 24 hours or so?
Outside of my parents, nobody for real, like friends and family. Honestly, try not to answer my phone as much, even though that probably sounds like I'm a jerk, but there's just a lot of highs and lows throughout the series, and you don't get as many texts if you don't play well, so I try and keep that in perspective too. But a lot of it can be really overwhelming if you give a lot of energy to it, so it makes me sound like a jerk, but I try and get back to him after business is done. But a lot of it just trying to like put my phone away and like spend time with the people that are like at the game and like here with me.
Nick in the back.
Dub, we've talked so much about your adaptability as a group, and a lot of that conversation's been sort of internally when you all change things up. There's some uncertainty potentially coming at you in Game 6 in terms of Halliburton's status, and you guys have had experience in these types of situations before. Can you maybe just explain the adaptability that you guys feel when other teams' circumstances change on you and you guys have to deal with that?
A big thing for us just during the season has been, and it's the NBA, so it's kind of funny. You never know who's actually going to play or not throughout the season. So we've done a really good job of focusing on us, and the Pacers are a very good team. Like I've been saying before, like you don't stumble into the finals, and you surely don't get into the finals with just one person. So we're going to get their best punch regardless of who plays and who doesn't. And, they're going to be fighting like their backs against the wall. So that's kind of like the mindset that we have going into it. And then whoever lines up is who lines up. But it's going to be no shortage of energy. And, they're going to play their hearts out, obviously. So that's kind of the mindset we have with it. And then whoever plays, plays.
Back row on the right.
Hey, Dub, here, Tins in China. First of all, great game last night. And at this time, the plot of this series looks familiar to that Denver one. So obviously, from that one, you guys won Game 5 and ultimately advanced in Game 7. 7 games. So what do we learn from that one in terms of long series and no secrets between those two teams, quote unquote, and try to close this one now tomorrow?
You try and take the lessons from each series and go from there. So a lot of it for this series was like for Game 1, for example, it's like, all right, we lose Game 1, pretty heartbreaking one. Obviously, a game winner in the finals for them is super cool, and for us it sucks. But just kind of having a maturity of like understanding the highs and lows of a series, and the biggest thing for us is it's 1st to 4, not 1st to 3. So the same way that we felt Game 1, they probably felt last game, and they're going to come in focused for this one. So you try and take the lessons a little bit from Denver and understand what we could have did Game 6. Like we didn't come out ready to play, quite frankly, in Game 6, and we didn't do a good job of sustaining our energy through that series. So we're going to try and do a little better with that on this one. And, where the chips fall, they fall. But a lot of that is just trying to, like, grow through each experience.
Michael here in the front.
Yeah. Michael Martin, Let's Talk Thunder. Dub, a couple days ago, you talked about growing up playing the one before you had your growth spurt. I just wanted to ask, what sort of point guard were you? Were you sort of the classic guy? What was sort of your game like before you sort of started playing on the wing?
I was like Andre Miller. That was somebody that I watched a little bit. Just like, it's going to sound like a shot at him, but it's not. But just like kind of like unathletic a little bit and like kind of below the rim kind of player. So I was like kind of like slow-footed, but just understood like pace. Shot the ball really well. I shot a lot of threes. Kind of like pass first almost. So that was my game.
Last two over here and in the center.
Jalen, you just became the player with the fewest minutes played to ever score a 40-point game in the NBA Finals since the minutes started being tracked in 1955. And alongside with Shea, you both had averaging 30 points in the last 3 games. You joined LeBron James and Kyrie Irving and Elgin Baylor and Jerry West. When you hear your name in these conversations, how do you feel? How special is to be along those sides, those guys, in such a special something so early in your career?
Yeah, it's a blessing for sure. God's put me in a good space, man. It's like kind of like bittersweet because it happens in the finals. So a lot of it is like getting over it pretty quickly. So I've stopped thinking about it, but that night was really cool. It's something that I don't take for granted. Yeah, elite company for sure, but it's something that I've also put on the back burner. Like for me, that game no longer matters. And now we're trying to close out a series. But looking back on it, like when I'm done playing basketball, like just to be in those conversations, I think is really cool and really special. And having my family gets to be a part of it too. Like for them to be at the game was super cool.
Alvaro up front, last one.
Alvaro Martin Ritmo, GM said that this has been the finals where he's seen both teams play the hardest in a long time. Putting aside physicality, Indiana setting records of speed and distance. How does it feel in terms of covering the court and at the speed you're running? Do you feel that? Is that assessment correct in your experience?
Yeah, for sure. The game's going by super fast. I expected the physicality part. Like everybody's playing to win a championship, so the physicality part's always going to be there. But I think the similarities in which each team plays with, you can, and watching it, like you can feel how fast the game is. And I think for both teams to be young, I think everybody's kind of enjoying themselves. So that's definitely part of the game. I'm happy that it's like been that way too. Just from like it's living up to being in the finals, and it's fun to play physical and fast and do that. So that it does feel that way, the same way that everybody's watching and it does feel that way too.
Thank you, Jalen.
Yep.
Thanks, everybody.